Yeah, the first one.
Okay. Um, Mr. Hilderly and his client have disappeared. So we can't really start until they show back up in my waiting room. Oh, there's Mr. Hilderly.
We need Shelley too.
All right, Shelley too. Yeah, that's Mr. Fagan. I think the next time I take a break, I'm going to leave my meeting room open so this doesn't happen. We're still waiting on Shelley Dungan.
Your Honor, I guess while we wait, I see my next witness is Annabelle Howard. I imagine you're gonna wanna put her, we're gonna put her in a waiting room or?
That's probably a good idea.
I
We're having
don't know.
trouble getting her. We're having trouble getting an audio connection with her in any event. Here's Shelley. I wanted to be able to tell her what I'm doing, but I'm having trouble making an audio connection with her.
With who? My grandma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if she's having internet issues or, oh.
There we go. Make volume up. Yep, you gotta, it's too close to my phone.
All right, Ms. Howard, I'm going to put you back in the waiting room until you're ready to be called as a witness. So just sit tight, please.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Hilderly, I think we're ready for your cross-examination.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I just missed it again.
Yeah, where'd she go? Oh, there she is.
Ms. Fagan, you can hear us?
I still don't have her on my screen.
I can see
I've got her on
but
my screen, but it does not appear that she can hear us. I'm wondering, with having herself and her grandmother both on the line, if we're taxing their internet bandwidth. Ms. Fagan, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, well, let's see how this works. Go ahead, Mr. Hilderly.
Okay, now Miss, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So you described your relationship with Mr. Fagan at times toxic. Is it fair to say that this went both ways?
At times, I'm sure, yeah.
I mean, you argued with him, he argued with you. You used profanity with him, he used profanity with you, yes?
Never in front of my children, though.
Okay. But in your text messages to him, in conversations with him, you didn't always speak very nicely, correct?
Correct.
And on exhibit, you refer to Harmony as a bimbo, right?
Correct.
And as you said, you've never even met her?
No, I haven't.
You've admitted to being unfaithful in the marriage. You talked about a time surrounding the third filing of divorce, but your unfaithfulness predates that, correct? It goes all the way back to the first filing.
I've never been unfaithful until we were filing for divorce. So in my eyes, that wasn't being unfaithful. We were going to be divorced.
This is going into the first filing?
Correct.
So when was this? 2018?
17. Just before, no, 18. I'm sorry. It was just before Millie turned 1.
And it was Mr. Fagan that filed for divorce, correct?
It was.
And you're saying that the filing wasn't because of your unfaithfulness?
No, Jake and I had both seen other people.
When you talked to Jake about Corbin misbehaving, did Jake indicate to you that he wasn't misbehaving at his house?
No, he did not.
If Corbin isn't misbehaving and exhibiting these problems at Jake's house, are you surprised to find out that Jake maybe doesn't necessarily think Corbin needs counseling?
Well, I know that he acts that way because Jake and I have discussed it, Corbin's behavior. So yeah, I would be surprised if Corbin didn't have any behavioral issues whatsoever at Jake's house, and it was only at mine.
If Corbin wasn't exhibiting behavior problems at your house, would you think he needs counseling?
I think, yeah, I would still want them to see someone regarding our divorce and not having their parents together anymore. I think that would still be helpful.
Even if he's not having any problems?
Correct.
You talked about the move to Stockbridge and how you guys had a plan for the future, correct?
Yes.
And didn't the plan end when you were unfaithful again?
No, it didn't. Jake was still living at the house.
But what wasn't this third filing?
It was after our domestic in June, and Jake didn't file for divorce until September.
Okay, so it didn't have anything to do with you being unfaithful again?
No, we'd already had our domestic.
And what was the cause of the domestic in your eyes?
Jake was controlling and wanted to know who I was talking to, and I didn't answer him.
Are you surprised that given your prior infidelity, he was curious as to who you might be talking to?
Sure.
You indicated you have some concerns about your car and getting to Grass Lake with the kids, right?
Yes.
How far is it from Stockbridge to Brighton?
About 40 minutes.
And your car seems to do okay getting there?
Well, this just started 2 weeks ago,
Are you
and I
concerned?
only have 3 months left.
Are you concerned you're not going to be able to get back and forth to school?
No.
So what would the problem be going to Grass Lake?
Well, going to Grass Lake would be a longer extended amount of time and every day, or whatever our court order would be. I only have school for 3 more months.
But you believe you will have transportation to and from Brighton to go to school?
Yeah.
You talked about the Corbin stuff. Was this a one-time incident? Did he have other issues?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear what you said.
Sure. You talked about the incident Corbin was injured at daycare. Were there other he was injured at daycare, or is it one time?
No, that was the only time.
Okay. But that one incident makes you concerned about the daycare?
Yeah, it resulted in him having to go to the hospital. That's not typical.
But you're not concerned about him being at your grandmother's? Because wasn't there an incident at your grandmother's where he overdosed on drugs to the point where it almost killed him?
Yes, but the same people are not over, and I have full view of my children all the time now. That was a learning lesson.
Well, didn't you explain that your grandma's going to be watching him at times?
Yes.
Okay, so you won't be there and you won't be in plain view at that time, right?
No, I won't be.
Okay. So the one incident at your grandma's isn't concerning enough to worry about that. The one incident at daycare is concerning enough.
Well, the concern wasn't that he was at my grandma's. The concern was that my sister was a drug addict at the time, and she is no longer, and she isn't over all the time anymore. So circumstances have changed.
Right. And wasn't the kid who caused the injury at daycare, wasn't he removed from the daycare?
No, he wasn't right away.
But he is now.
Yeah, he's older. He was an older child, so he goes to school now. I believe so.
So the situation has changed there at daycare as well.
Correct. As far as the child, yes.
Perfect. Have you ever been physically abusive towards Jake?
No, I have not.
Never.
No, I have not.
Does Corbin have a TV in his room at your house?
Yes, he does.
For the U of M medical bill, I understand that you don't think that there's anything owed. In the event that there's anything owed, you would agree that you should share in 50% of that bill?
Yeah, we're both his parents.
Okay. The city taxes while you were married, I understand your position is that city taxes weren't removed from Jake's check, correct?
Correct.
But you guys were married at the time, correct?
Yeah, we were.
And Jake, at least in some way, supported you and the kids while you were married. I think you had indicated he was essentially the primary financial provider, correct?
Yeah, at times, yes, he was.
Okay. Now it's at times.
Well, I did
okay.
work.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I
I
worked.
was using you were the one who said he was the primary financial provider. So if the taxes weren't being taken out of his check, that just means his check was a little bit bigger, correct?
I would assume so. I'd never seen one of Jake's checks before.
Well, I mean, that's just logic, right? I'm doing this without seeing him as well. If it's not being withheld, it then just goes into his check, correct?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Okay. So that just meant his check was a little bigger and he had a little bit more money to support the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. That's all I have.
Any redirect, Ms. Fleming?
I guess I would just ask, two things. Alexis, you referred to Harmony in a text to Jake as a bimbo.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Have you ever called her that name in front of the kids?
No, I have not.
And if and when you are introduced to her, how would you treat her?
I would be nice to Harmony. I don't have any issues with her. She's obviously a part of my children's lives now, no matter if her and Jake are together. You know, they are having a kid, and this kid will be related to my children.
Okay. And you're going to school how many days a week, driving to Brighton?
Just two.
And when will you be done doing so?
I know I'm halfway done. I have 15 weeks left, so I don't know the exact date of when I'm done.
So 15 weeks.
Sometime in November. Yeah, sometime in November.
Okay. I don't have anything further either. Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Duncan, did you have any questions?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, let me let Ms. Howard in. Ms. Howard, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your full name and then spell it, please.
My name is Annabelle Howard, Annabell Howard.
Go ahead, Ms. Fleming.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
And can you please tell the court how you are related to Alexis?
I'm sorry, I lost your sound.
I'm sorry, can you tell the court how you're related to Alexis?
Alexis is my granddaughter.
And into Millie and Corbin?
They are my great grandchildren.
Okay. And where do you live, Ms. Howard?
4805 Green Road, Stockbridge, Michigan.
Okay. And how long have you lived there?
I've lived here since 1979, with the exception of from 2003 to 2009. I lived in a new house about 2 miles from here. Came
Okay.
back here in 2012.
Okay. And could you describe the proximity to Alexis, her house?
I live probably a mile from Alexis, if it's that far.
Okay.
I live just outside the village limits. She lives inside the village limits.
Okay. And Alexis described earlier for the court how she and Jake picked out the house in Stockbridge and that you purchased that house. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was your plan for that home and their living residence there?
They were renting a place out on Horton Street in Jackson. No place for the kids to play. It was sort of a bad neighborhood or the surroundings. And so we started looking for a house. Jake and Alexis and I went many, many times with their realtor to look at properties because we wanted them to buy they wanted to buy a house, but they didn't have the money for a down payment. So they included me because I was to help them get the house. So we looked at several homes around the Jackson area. This particular home, I was in Florida when they found the house. Jake, Alexis, my son and his wife found the house. They viewed the house. They did the purchase agreements on it. And when I came home in December, the last of December, I came home the day of the closing and we did the closing and the house was bought.
And the house is in your name?
It is.
And what was your plan for future plan after you purchased it? Were they to have any
The plan
financial
was-
responsibility?
They had bad credit. They had no down payment. They had bad credit. So the plan was that we would buy a residence. I would buy a residence. They would live in it for 1 year and pay me $800 a month. At the end of the year, they would have improved their credit scores, and I would give them the money that they had paid me that entire year as a down payment, so they could approach a bank and get a loan.
Okay, and did that happen?
No, it did not.
Did they ever make any payments?
There was one payment made, but she got part of the money from her dad for the payment. She paid me $800.
Okay, did you propose a land contract to them?
I did. I took all the paperwork over to my attorney, and he drafted a land contract, which was to be signed by Jake and Alexis. And I got the contract, but they never signed it.
Okay. How long have you known Jake?
I first met Jake I want to say it was in probably the spring of 2014. My husband and I had been in Florida, and we came home in about the mid-spring, and my husband was pronounced with cancer. And at that time, Alexis came out and she had Jake with her. So it was about the spring of 2014.
And have you been supportive of Alexis and Jake in their relationship and their family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When Jake came to the family, he had had cancer treatments. When he smiled, he would put his hand over his face because his teeth were rotted out, and he didn't want people to see his smile, and I was concerned about that. So I told him that I would pay to have his teeth fixed, and I did. I even went to the dentist and the specialist that he had to see, and I paid to get his teeth fixed, which was $7,000. I furnished him vehicles. I bought the vehicle Alexis has right now. I bought that. I've given him money. I bought for the kids. Just what normal grandparents do, I guess.
And have you had an opportunity to observe both Alexis and Jake as parents with Millie and Corbin over the years?
I have, yes. Yes.
So was there an incident last fall, in the fall of 2019, in your home with Jake and the children?
Yes.
Could you describe that for the court, please?
Sure. Alexis was working, and she was doing split shifts where she would go in early in the morning, then come home, and then she'd have to go back in the afternoon. Corb had been enrolled in the Great Start program in Stockbridge, and so he had to be to school by 9 o'clock. So she would bring the children. Either she would bring the children, or sometimes I would go down to their house, and I would get the kids ready for school. She would stop. When she got out of work, she'd come and pick them up. And then in the afternoon, she would be working. So I would either pick Corb up at school, or he would ride the bus home to my house. And Millie stayed with me at that time.
Okay, so was Jake, when they were separated, was he dropping off or picking up the kids from your house initially in last school year?
Yes, he was. He was the days that he would have the children. He never dropped them off in the morning. It was always some of either friends or family members that would drop them off, but he would pick them up in the afternoon. And they were normally running late in the morning. The kids wouldn't have their baths and stuff, so I would give them their bath and get them ready for school, take them to school. And then in the afternoons, whenever Corb would come home on the bus. And I asked Alexis, there was a little problem because I asked Alexis to find out what time they were going to be picked up so I could plan my life too. And she asked Jake, and his response wasn't very good.
Okay, so was he the one that would pick the children up from you?
Yes, he was.
And was there ever an incident that gave you concern?
Absolutely. It was the 30th of September, and I had Corbin and Millie and my other little great granddaughter, and we were eating dinner. And Jake came in. I invited him to eat. He didn't. And I told him, what I said to him was, Jake, Alexis would like to keep the children Monday through Thursday so Corbin can go to school, and then you could have them Friday through Sunday. He started ranting and raving. He said it was me against him and that I supported her. He was just screaming. So the kids, all three of the children, ran back through the house. He ran through the house screaming at the kids. He came back into the kitchen. He ran back through the house again all the time, just screaming and hollering. And he came back in the kitchen, and Corbin ran up to me, put his arms around my leg, and I said, Jake, stop, you're scaring these kids to death. I was frightened of him. That's the first time I'd ever seen him, but he absolutely was frightening. So when Alexis came home, I told her that. He told me that his kids were not going to go to school, that they were enrolled in preschool at Michigan Center, and that's where they would be going to school.
So the next morning, October 1st, were the kids delivered back to you so Corbin could go to school?
No, Corbin was supposed to go to school and he didn't come back. So Alexis and I went over to the daycare center, and both of the children were there. We picked them up, brought them back home, gave Corbin and Millie both a bath, and she took Corbin to school.
Okay. Prior to that incident, had you and Jake been getting along okay if he was running late or needed you to pick up the kids? Were you?
Oh, yeah, sure. Many, at least 4 to 5 incidents. He would call me and say, I'm going to be late. Can you pick the kids up for me? And I said, sure. I went down and got them, and then he would stop and pick them up. At one point, his truck broke down and he had no way to work. So he asked me to borrow my truck. So I loaned him my truck, and he drove my truck for at least 3 days to get back and forth to work. I didn't have any problems with it.
So have you had the opportunity to observe Millie and Corbin with Alexis?
Yes.
And could you describe for the court their relationship?
She seems to get along fine with the kids. She takes them places. Just recently, we went boating. It was through the week. My son took off work because we wanted to take the children, and Alexis went, and we had a great day at the lake. And she's very active in his schooling. Always keeps them nice and clean. I haven't had any problems with her, as far as the children.
Okay. Would you say they're bonded?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And does she provide discipline when necessary?
Yes. Corbin has experiencing tantrums, really bad tantrums recently, and she sits down and talks to him and tries to soothe him. And we've talked about the fact that he most definitely needs counseling. I've been concerned about him also.
Okay. We also, during both Jake's and Alexis's testimony, there was discussion of what happened with Corbin over Labor Day of 2017. When
Yes.
they were in your home and he was taken to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So was your granddaughter in your home at that time? Your
She was.
Elizabeth?
She was visiting. They were all visiting. Alexis was here with her 2 children. Elizabeth and her boyfriend were here with her 3 children. I had a landscaper here that was doing some landscaping. I was here. There was quite a few people around.
Okay. So what do you believe happened that day?
Actually, there was a bottle sitting on the countertop. It looked like it had pink solution in it. I just assumed it was lemonade. I didn't pay any attention to it. And unless that was what Corbin got into, but now we are we are farmers. My husband has farming stuff and stuff around, and normal household chemicals, you know. I knew that he had gotten into something, but I had no idea what it was.
So if in fact it was something that your granddaughter Elizabeth had in that bottle, is she ever left alone, unsupervised with Millie and Corbin?
No, she is not. And she does not. She has 3 children. She has 4 children now. And she comes here sporadically, but not, you know, never, not on a, regular basis and not real often.
Okay. Would you ever let her be unsupervised around Millie and Corbin if they were left in your care?
Not with the situation that it was. No, I'd be very careful.
And if she's ever around the family, is there heightened awareness of what's on the table or what's around and available to the children?
Yes. And Elizabeth has 4 children of her own, very happy, healthy children now. I think that she's in a better place than she was.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think I have anything else for Ms. Howard.
Cross-exam, Mr. Hilderly?
No question.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Duncan, did you have any questions?
No, Judge, thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. That concludes your testimony. Any further presentation, Ms. Fleming?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Hilderly, do you have some rebuttal you'd like to present?
Yes, Your Honor. First, we just wanted to let the court know I did send that video to Mr. Veldkamp while we were on break, so hopefully he's received that.
Okay.
And then I would just recall Mr. Fagan for some rebuttal testimony.
Okay, Mr. Fagan, you understand that you're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Hilderly.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fagan, I just want to clear up a few things based off of your Mrs. Fagan's testimony. She had indicated or talked about the kids living with her in Stockbridge in 2019. During that time period in 2019, you lived with the kids and cared for the kids during that year, correct?
Correct.
And the only time that you didn't have them was the 6 weeks when she was denying you parenting time.
Correct.
And then I just wanted to clear up, Ms. Fagan indicated that you had multiple speeding tickets that were causing issues with your car insurance. Is that accurate?
No, I don't know where them speeding tickets come up. You can check my file. I got 1 speeding ticket in the last 5 years.
And in fact, her dad was on your insurance as well?
Her dad had a truck in Alexis's name because he's got a suspended driver's license. So Alexis put in her name so he could continue driving. He totaled out that truck, and Alexis, she's got 2 accidents on her own.
In this parenting exchange that you guys had, Alexis made an allegation that you said that you smacked Corbin in the effing mouth, I think is what she said. Is that anything you said?
No, sir. That was actually a great exchange. I thought, we both were on page with one another, and she told me that Corbin's been acting up over there, and I told her, if you're having issues, just call me. And she said that's what Corbin's saying. Every time she yells at him that he wants to call me, I told her to call me and explain the situation. I have no problem talking to Corbin because I don't have these.
You're not having this, or you're not having behavior, Corbin, at your house?
No.
He's not hitting Millie. He's not acting out.
No, I mean, they play, but he knows, you don't hit females, you don't hit girls. That's the way I'm raising him. That was my issue with my court, 12 years ago, and the anger management class I had. Males don't hit females.
any issues with when you're returning the kids? Are you bathing them before, and what's going on with that?
Yeah, when we was returning them at 7:30 during school nights, I literally had them bathed, their teeth were brushed, and they were in their pajamas ready for bed. We did the exchange at 7:30, their bedtime's at 8. I had them fully prepared for her to take home, put them in bed, and that was that. Never once was it an issue. That's why there's no proof otherwise.
She never said anything to you. She
No.
never sent you a text or anything saying, "Hey, you're not doing this right," or you're not bringing them back in a satisfactory manner.
Nope. Never once was any discomfort said.
Were you ever given any medicine for Corbin to give him at any time?
She gave me children's Tylenol. That was what the medicine was in the backpack that she referred to as I didn't give him the medicine back. And I told her, she could go to the store and buy some more because it was just your children's Tylenol from the gas station, any pharmacy. There was no prescription medication.
A lot has been made about this move to Stockbridge. Is that something that you wanted to do?
No, this whole move to Stockbridge was all behind my back. It was one day, like everybody said, we were looking for houses in Jackson, Grass Lake, Chelsea. Never did we look for houses in Stockbridge because never did we plan on moving there. And then after the divorce is when I guess her and her family decided to buy a house in Stockbridge because one day we went to look at a house and I instantly told her I don't like it. And she said, well, this is the house, we're getting because we already bought it. And from that point on, that was a lot of the drama and fighting that we had because, it was all done behind my back. And
You did end up moving to Stockbridge, correct?
I did give it an attempt, only to find out, that she was unfaithful the entire 3-4 months that I lived. And that's when I was going to move back to Jackson. But it turns out, I didn't have a house.
And so this most recent divorce filing was due to her being unfaithful.
All 3 of the divorces were.
And you heard her testify that she was only unfaithful during times or when you filed for divorce. Is that true?
No, that's not true. There's text of her words, apologizing way back to the first divorce, and then the second divorce was because, which was her that filed. After I found out, and I basically, the first divorce, everything was going in my favor. So then she, talked me into basically getting rid of everything and giving her another chance for the benefit of the kids, which, I did. And the second divorce was the moment she felt that she pretty much had the upper hand, she went and filed. And then we got, basically that one was all done behind my back. I didn't even know that she filed like that. And that one just went away because nothing was ever done. And then the third time, is basically I found out that she was being unfaithful the entire time that we were back together.
Did you ever post anything on Facebook about her being pregnant?
No, there was none ever posted on Facebook. Corbin came to my house and told me that she was pregnant, and that was 2 weeks after we had separated, which meant she was pregnant before we even separated. And I questioned her about it, but
that's something Corbin told you.
Yeah, Corbin told me, just like
know?
he told the school and everything else. I don't know where he heard it, but he came to my house, told me about it. And yeah.
When the kids are in your care, do you allow them to call her or talk to her?
Yeah, every time that they pulled up these texts, where she wants to talk to them, and I tell them that we're busy or whatnot, they've called her every single time afterwards. She hasn't pulled up her call log. She hasn't showed her call log. It might be 2-3 hours after, it might even be the next day, but regardless, they called. A lot of the times we get pushed to voicemail, but it's just, the only thing is my response is to give her a response right then and there to let her know we're busy. But then we'll call her back when we're not busy, and 9 times out of 10, we just get pushed right through to voicemail. There's a handful of times where the kids, didn't want to talk, and, I didn't force them to talk to her.
So there was talk about you missing some parenting time or you're not exercising some parenting time. It was a situation you didn't think it was your, correct?
Yeah, it was first full week of the month was granted to her, and that prior Monday that she left to school, she even texted, acknowledged that it was her full week, this and that. And then 2 days later, is when I got a call at 6:30 saying that the kids were left.
I'm not talking about that. I just, there was talk that you weren't exercising time that you were afforded. If you weren't exercising that time, it's because you misread or misunderstood the order.
Which was just that one occasion. Other than that,
You've been exercising those
yes.
Wednesdays?
Yeah, yeah.
The first Wednesday in the month?
No.
That's what the question is.
Okay. Then
They're saying you didn't exercise the first Wednesday of each month.
No, because she told me I wasn't allowed, that it wasn't my time.
Okay. If you thought it was your time or knew it was your time, you would have exercised it.
Correct. Yes.
It's just either a mistake on your part or lack of understanding on your
No,
part.
I took my kids at every chance I had.
Do you speak poorly of her in front of the kids?
No.
Do you disparage her to the kids?
No.
Do you use profanity in front of the kids?
No.
Can you tell the court your version of the incident that resulted in you being charged with domestic violence?
Your Honor, I believe this was asked and answered on direct exam.
Response?
I'm not sure. We may have touched on it, but now that he's heard her version of the events, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to go over it again.
I will allow this.
So what happened? You came home and she was on the phone. What time of day was it?
It was 10 o'clock at night. I came home.
And where were the kids when you got home?
They were in our bedrooms watching TV.
And where was she?
She was originally in the living room on the phone. And basically when I got home, I asked her who she was talking to, and she didn't respond. So I was like, asked her a little more, and she got up and she went outside onto the front porch.
So what did you do after that?
I went in the house, or continued to the back bedroom, to say hi to the kids and take a shower. I just got to work on the truck. I went in, took a shower. After I got done with the shower, I grabbed some food, and then me and the kids ate food, right there on the bed at about 10:30. And she was still on the phone, once we got done eating. So I went back outside, to question her some more on who she was talking to. At that point is when I could hear that it was another guy. And so, I got a little irritated doing, past, experiences. And I started asking her a little more, like, who are you talking to? And she basically started yelling at me, told the guy, see, this is what I got to deal with and this and that. And, I tried to grab the phone one time out of her hand and she pulled it away, walked off and locked herself in the car. So, I walked over to the car and I tried getting in, but it was locked, so that's why I told her, I'm like, okay, if we're going to play these games, then it ain't going to last and I'm done, So I went in the house and I started packing my things. Like 3 minutes after that, she come in just yelling and came back to the bedroom, our bedroom. And she just, started slapping and hitting and with the kids right there on the bed. And that's when I grabbed both of her wrists and I threw them down by her side. And I told her she's done hitting me in front of the kids. I told the kids to get off the bed and go to their bedroom. The kids both went into their own bedrooms. And that's when she followed Corbin into the room, and I just continued packing everything. And basically she'd bounce back and forth from the room yelling, back to Corbin's room yelling, and that's basically that. Once I got all packed, I went into the room. I kissed Corbin goodbye, kissed Millie goodnight, and that's when I left. I didn't stay on the couch. I left. I went to my mom's house, and yeah.
Okay. And then with regards to the charges, they were ultimately dropped. Is that correct?
Yeah, everything was dropped.
And what was the reason that they were dropped?
Because she didn't do no follow-ups, and basically that incident right there, yeah, I guess that was why she went to the hospital. But regardless, they were all dropped because she did no follow-ups. She failed to show up to the court. The courts reached out to her many times, and she just never responded. She had absolutely zero responses to the court.
Did you actually go to court?
Yeah, I went to court, went to jail.
What happened when you went to court?
Basically, I sat there for 5 hours while the Ingham County, defense attorney or whatnot, whoever was representing her, in the court system themselves, attempted to reach her for 5 hours. And after 5 hours of failing to get a hold of her, they just dropped all charges. They also attempted to get a hold of her little friend, the friend that was, supposedly at the house the entire time everything happened. And neither one of them answered, neither one of them responded, neither one of them showed up to court.
She testified and showed some pictures of damage to the house. Is that damage that you caused?
No, I wasn't even at the house. Ann asked me last Thursday, basically said that the grandma came home and told me the cops were looking for me. I was at the grandma's house the whole time. I went to the dad's house to pick my kids up. Alexis, physically assaulted me there, which pictures were shown to Shelly. And then Alexis and her one friend left and went home. Well, after I waited at the dad's house until my son got back from the uncle's, picked up my son, and I went to the grandma's house. And then that's when grandma came home and told me all of that. Never even went to the house.
Thank you, Judge. That's all I have.
Ms. Fleming?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Fagan, you just said that the second divorce filing, that went away because nothing ever happened. Isn't that what
Correct.
you just said?
Yes.
Isn't that the case? I'm sorry?
One that Alexis filed.
Right. Isn't it in fact true that Mr. Hotchkiss represented you in that case, correct?
Yes.
And he prepared the paperwork for the case to be dismissed because you and Alexis had reconciled, correct?
Yes.
And that was in spring of 2019, correct?
Yes.
So you had made the decision and you were represented by an attorney that you wanted to reconcile with your wife, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the pictures that Alexis testified to, that was actually damage that you caused to the house in June of 2019, not in September of 2019 during the second incident, correct?
I'm unsure of the dates. Basically all of them damages, she even stated herself that's 3 separate occasions.
She said
So-
2 separate occasions in June.
No, that she said in her testimony, she stated that there were 3 different occasions.
She said in June, when you came into the house, when you hurt her wrists, and she was in the room with the children and you were slamming the door, that's when you damaged the door and the wall, correct?
That's when she said I damaged it, but there was no damages done. Correct.
Okay, so you don't have any explanation how those holes got in the wall and the damage was done to the house?
You'd have to ask her, ma'am.
Well, I did.
But obviously,
So
she's not.
you testified that the charges were dropped in Ingham County after you waited in court. Alexis didn't know anything about that day in court, did she?
That was the Ingham County Court's office that reached out to her.
My question to you, sir, there was a hearing scheduled that day. That's why you were there, right?
Letter in the mail. Yes, she got the letter in the mail.
Okay, you know that for certain?
Yeah, because she sent it to me.
And so you referred to her friend as her little friend? You called
Yeah.
her little friend, huh?
Yeah, the one she was running around to the bars with.
Okay, her little friend, is that how you refer to a woman?
That ain't a woman, but yes, that female, yes.
Her little friend, okay. I don't have anything further. Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Hilderly, does that conclude your rebuttal?
Yes, sure.
Okay, I think the proofs are in. Ms. Duncan, did you have a presentation?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Okay, so it's 12 o'clock. I do not have time this afternoon. Let me ask, there was at least some testimony from Ms. Fagan about judicial interviews. My understanding is Millie is just 3, is that right?
Yes, she
Yeah.
turned 3 in April 1st.
That's too young to interview. I don't interview children that young. In fact, and Corbin is what, 5.5? Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah.
6 in January, yes.
Yeah, even with 5-year-olds, I got to tell you, I think I've done one as young as 6. They're not helpful. They're just not helpful. Kids that young usually love both parents. It's very questionable whether I'm going to get anything out of him that's going to be of any value to me in terms of a preference. On the other hand, my understanding is Ms. Duncan has spent time with both the children.
Yes.
And Ms. Duncan, was either child able to express a preference to you?
No, I just kind of got some workings of what goes on at each parent's house and some comments, but yeah, no, it wasn't particularly helpful. Millie, there was nothing. There was no way. Corbin, a little bit. He's a little more serious and stuff, but yeah, Judge, I agree with your assessment. It's probably wouldn't be helpful for you.
So in light of all of this, counsel, do either of you want to insist that I interview either child?
No, Your Honor, I was simply asking my client if that's what the court was inclined to do.
All right, yeah, I wouldn't normally. If a party insists on it, I'll do it. But it's largely a waste of time. So if you're not insisting based upon the young ages and particularly based upon what the LGAL has told me, I would decline to do an interview. Whatever I would be relying upon for making a decision, other than input that I'm going to receive from Ms. Duncan, I believe is already in the record. How would you propose we go about that? Ms. Duncan, are you prepared to make an oral presentation and recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Counsel, this I think might be the first time I've ever had an LGAL present for a trial. Usually the LGAL is helpful in resolving a case, so we don't need a trial. I'm not sure exactly what the best way to proceed is. Do either of you have a thought?
I guess in my experience with in abuse and neglect matters, when we do have an LGAL, I thought both counsel for each of the parties would make their closing presentation, and then the LGAL would also then make her presentation. And then based upon that, the court can make its decision.
All right. Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Hilderly?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we need to schedule a time to do that. As I said, I'm tied up this afternoon. Let's take a look at the calendar and see what we got coming up. I'm going on a 2-week leave of absence beginning 2 weeks from today. So I'm going to see if I can squeeze you in sometime between now and the 24th. So give me just a moment.
Judge, I will be on vacation the following week, next week. I don't know how great my Zoom will be from the lake, but I prefer this week if we could.
Well, I've got neglect stuff tomorrow and Wednesday. Let me look at Wednesday afternoon possibly. All right, all my neglect trials are scheduled for the morning on Wednesday, so I could probably have you back Wednesday afternoon, say at 1:30. Does that work for everyone?
Works for me.
I'm available.
If that works for everybody else, then yes, I'll make it work for me.
Okay, plan on 1:30 Wednesday then, and we'll see you all back for closing arguments. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Judge.
Judge.